So the other day I was watching a YouTube channel that I really like, which is Steve from Digwell Green Fingers, and he was showing microgreens. I've never grown them before. I've done quite a few sprouts before, but I've never done microgreens. I thought, well, I'll give this a try. Looks quite fun. And so over the last 2 weeks, I've been playing around with it, and I've had some good experiences. I've been pretty pleased actually with the results. To some extent, I think it's quite hard work by comparison with just growing in the ground. And it's quite expensive from a perspective of the amount of seeds you use and the amount of compost that you use. But in winter, yeah, it's just a nice diversion. And Debbie and I have been quite pleased with the results. And they've made, quite a nice addition to the diet. We've still got a lot of food in the ground. In fact, everything we eat, we grow all the veg that we eat at this time of year. Anyway, we grow ourselves. But it's nice to have, some extra goodies in the salads, for example, or stir fries. Debbie really likes the microgreens in wraps and things like that. So anyway, I thought I'd just show you. I'm doing a tray today. I'll show you how I've been doing it, how I've been storing the microgreens whilst they germinate, and then how I've been bringing them on to maturity. And I'll show you some of the trays that I've got so far. And yeah, so let's have a look. So to start off with, I'm just using some of my standard trays. These are from Wilco, and I've just drilled a few holes in them. And these stack, so I'm just putting them in like that. And I've got loads and loads of these trays that aren't being used at this time of year, so that's why I'm using them. And I'm just using my standard compost as well for seed starting. So that's a Levington's seed and modular compost. I don't normally get it with sand, but this batch that I got was on offer, half price, so who can resist? The lovely thing about this compost, the Levington stuff, is that it's extremely fine, which is just perfect for this. And I'm just tamping it down just with this little piece of wood and trying to get it reasonably level. And I'm not filling my tray at the moment. I'm experimenting because I don't want to use so much compost. So I'm doing it about half full, so there's only about just over an inch probably of compost in there. Hopefully that's enough. It seems to be so far. And I'm not composting the results of the tray because what I've found is there's loads of ungerminated seeds. Even if only 5% don't germinate, that's still, like 50 seeds or something. And if I put that into my ordinary compost, those will just germinate probably in the garden. I'll have masses of seeds in the garden. So this compost is just going in the green bin when I finish with it. If I was actually using it for compost, then I wouldn't worry so much. But since I'm not, I want to use as little as possible. So these are the seeds that I'm using. Actually, one of our favourites actually are the cabbages. So we've got red cabbages and white cabbages. And these are from Jerry at Grow Seeds. And I want to get these, it's a bit difficult one-handed, but I want to get these reasonably well distributed and fairly dense. I haven't probably quite got enough in here. Anyway, I'm going to do this two-handed and I'll come back in a minute. So that's the density I'm using. Hopefully you can see. I'll just put my finger in there so you get an idea. And maybe I could put a few more in than that. I don't really know, but it seems to they look a bit sparse when they first germinate, but once they've started growing, they thicken out really nicely. So that seems pretty good. I thought I'd show you a few of the seeds that I've got. So beetroot, those are okay. They're quite nice, but I don't find them quite as good as some of the other seeds, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Red rhubarb, that's a really lovely red kale, that's really nice. Obviously cress, Chinese cabbage, as I said, that's one that I've done. I'll show you some of those in a minute actually, I think. Onions, I've not tried those yet, but I'm quite excited to do that because we love spring onions, so it'll be interesting to see what those are like at this really high density. Broccoli, we're growing lots of those, really nice. And carrots, I'm not so sure about carrots because I think that they'll take forever to get to a decent size, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but we'll give them a try. And obviously peas, these are fantastic. We're very pleased with the peas. So there we go. Now, there's lots of different opinions about watering I generally don't like bottom watering my seeds. I find that everything gets far too soggy and wet, so I just do it with one of these. Obviously it does move your seedlings around, seeds around a little bit. I don't care about that. I'm getting everything a bit wet here, but anyway, I'll get those nicely moistened. That's plenty because they're not going to be exposed to the air. They're going to be covered up like this. Let's take this off and I'll show you what we've got underneath here. So that's a tray I did 2 days ago, and it's interesting that I did a mix here of 2 different varieties, I think. So one was red cabbage and one was white cabbage, and one of them has kind of germinated really early, and so those are really leggy, but most of them have just germinated. So I'm actually going to move those now into my growing on area. So I'm just going to pop that tray on top. I know that some people have a concern that the seeds stick to the bottom of the tray. I've not really found that to be an issue, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I just put that on there. That's 10 kilos. Seems enough. And that just goes under the desk in the conservatory behind the bin. It's not very warm in here, so but that seems fine. Growing things that germinate at about 15 to 18 degrees centigrade, something like that, seems to be fine. It's in my conservatory, and I've got this little footstool in here, and so I just slide the tray under there so it starts growing in the dark. Of course, actually it's not dark, but it's dark enough so that the seedlings are drawn up towards the light. Tray I took out today, and so they've drawn up really nicely. Very pleased with those. There's a few seed casings on them, but that's kind of inevitable. But 90% of them are free of those, and the seed casings are fine. You can eat them, no problem at all, so there's nothing to worry about there. There's the beetroot. Get a few more seed casings on the beetroot. I don't know, I'm just not a massive fan of the beetroot. I really like these. These are a couple of days away now from being ready for harvest. As I said, I just took those out from underneath that footstool this morning, and I think they're 3 days old, so maybe 4 days old. Anyway, they're growing really well, really nice and fast. And these are the peas, and these are a week or so old now. These are fantastic. Obviously we're harvesting these, and we're getting a lot of new growth at the bottom here, so not every pea germinated initially because I didn't pre-soak them, but they're all starting to germinate now. So what I'm expecting is that once I've done my first cut of this, all the peas underneath here that didn't germinate will have germinated, and we'll have a whole new crop. So that's pretty good. Now at the moment they're in the conservatory and they're under these grow lights. They don't, strictly speaking, need to be under the grow lights, but these grow lights are the light that I use in the conservatory. I don't have another light, and so yeah, they're working pretty well in here, and I like it in here with the grow lights on because it just makes the room look really nice and sunny. So down here I've got another tray of peas. These are the ones I did a couple of days ago, and you can see a lot of these are germinating, and I'm top watering them. I'm not bottom watering these, and as a result more and more of them are germinating over time, and that's what I want. I want this nice successional harvest of the peas. And these are the ones I did 2 days ago, so these are just starting to come up. This is a mix of red and white cabbage, and a little sort of, can you see the little fluffy bits at the bottom there? Some people think, oh, I've got mould. Those are root hairs. And there's a way you can kind of tell whether they're root hairs or mould, in that, well, the root hairs are obviously attached to the roots. That's a pretty good giveaway, whereas the mould would be kind of spread across the surface. But the other way of telling is to just give them a bit of a water, and if they kind of disappear, than the root hairs. Can you see how they're disappearing? And they've all gone now. And if they were still there, then it'd be mould. Many microgreens on the grow now that I don't have enough space in the conservatory for them, so I'm moving them into the kitchen onto the windowsill. And this has the massive advantage that we actually see them, and it reminds us to harvest them and include them in every meal where they're appropriate. And so that's working really well, and it's actually just really nice to see them there on the windowsill. They just look absolutely lovely. So there you go, that's my microgreen experiments over the last couple of weeks. As I said, I've quite enjoyed it. It's been a nice fun activity for the odd rainy day. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.